I'm Tracy Lenz. I'm a petroleum engineer, and welcome to the December 1st newscast. This isn't going to be super complicated. It's going to be very low level. If you're in the industry, it will probably be boring for you, honestly, but feel free to watch and give me recommendations. Correct me. I'm always open to corrections or recommendations. So if you are not in the industry and this is all new to you, welcome. Feel free to check back. Please subscribe. And so let's start with oil. So oil has been pretty steady all summer. We've seen a little bit of an uptick lately. We've gotten all the way up to $44 after last year's 50, 60. Really, 44 doesn't change a whole lot for people. Obviously, it's better than 35, 30, 20. If you're going to have low values, at least there's stability so that people can react and adapt. Now looking at gas, gas has had a nice little run over the last couple months. We were low before coronavirus. Coronavirus did not actually affect gas that much. Now, what does affect gas is weather. So if we have a warm winter, that will drive prices down. If we have a cold winter, that will drive prices up. But transportation doesn't necessarily affect gas like it does oil because we just don't use natural gas for transportation. The 1 year trend here, it's been riding just under $2 for the last year. If we look at 5 years, it kind of has little peaks seasonally and whenever there's events that cause hiccups in the supply chain, but nothing dramatic for gas. Now, for gasoline prices, I'm here on the AAA website, and I'm laughing at the title of this article they have, that states see jump at pump following Thanksgiving, because it's really nothing. It's like 2 cents more, and we've been so flat all summer, mostly thanks to crude oil prices being flat. They're very tied together. They're not a one-to-one. There's other things that go into gasoline prices, but they're very closely related. A large component of gasoline is crude oil. Not all of it, though. Some people think it's all of it. It's not all of it, though. Now, locally, you might see your prices fluctuate based on availability of your local product, of demand locally. Certain gas stations obviously have a one-up on other gas stations due to location, like if they're on a highway and no other ones nearby. But regionally, gas prices have been pretty steady. They've maybe dropped slightly over the last couple months just due to oil prices dropping slightly, but nothing dramatic. And I actually wouldn't expect anything dramatic until we see a dramatic change in our lifestyles again. When people start going back to work, going on vacations, flying in airplanes, or when the demand actually gets a little bit of an impact, then we might see prices edge up a little more. If we go into another lockdown, let's say the virus gets out of control again, then you would see prices go down again. It's just a supply and demand related to our mobility at this point and how much transportation we're doing. So another indicator that I look at is the rig count. And this is kind of funny to me. So this is Drilling Info or Enverus, their website, where they have a rig count. Another good source is Baker Hughes has a rig count that's pretty trustworthy. And this shows how many rigs are currently running. Now, the reason I think it's funny is they have a pumping unit over the word rig, which is not a rig, and they know that's not a rig. But a lot of people do think these are rigs. They're actually pumping units. They help get oil out of the ground, while the drilling rig actually has a drill bit on it and is drilling through the rock to get to the oil. You'll see thousands of the pumping units around, but there's 387 apparently drilling rigs right now. So this is a leading indicator to me as to what the industry is thinking and feeling. So if we scroll down to the last year of rig count, here is the drop that we saw starting in mid-March, going down through April, and we just kept going down, less and less rigs all the way until this summer. Since then, we've had a little bit of an uptick, and that could be a variety of things. It could be that operators are finally figuring out how to make wells be economic in this environment. That's totally plausible, and what happened in 2015 when prices crashed. Also possible is that there's quite a bit of obligations that people have that they're required to drill in order to avoid a fine or a fee or a penalty, such as losing the right to drill or paying a low volume fee on a pipeline or something along those lines. So one resource that I think everyone should know a little more about is the EIA.gov website. It's the U.S. Energy Information Administration, and they have a lot of information on their website. I actually was exploring it today even and found things I didn't know they had. If you're ever curious what's going on, they have a today in energy, this week in energy. They have all the different natural gas, electricity, alternative fuels, coal, petroleum, pretty much anything energy related. I mean, that's their job, right? One thing I forgot that most people don't know this because it's been so recent, that the U.S. is actually a net exporter of oil. Now let that sink in. If we're exporting oil on a net basis, as in like total in, total out, we're positive, that means we have enough. We're not reliant on other countries for oil. Historically, we definitely were. Now, that only flipped in the last year. Now, if we look at this plot here, if this gray line is our net, like you think of like net profit, right? Your net import, net trade is the gray line. Just recently, we became a net exporter, but that's a big deal. I mean, that means we could theoretically be energy independent. Now, the reason that we're not, the reason that we do have imports and exports is because the refineries are set up to process a certain type of oil. A lot of the U.S. shale gas and oil is a much lighter grade oil. Now, if you think of lighter versus heavier oil, imagine like gasoline being very, very, very light oil and tar sands being the opposite, the heavy, thick oil. The refineries are used to processing a much heavier oil than the very light stuff that comes out of the shale oil fields. So just for efficiency's sake, we export that stuff and import the stuff that our refineries are used to, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't, if we needed to, switch it. So another big question people have had is what impact this election had on the industry, and what impact will the new term have on the industry? Now, historically, a Republican or conservative administration has been more pro-drilling, pro-oil, pro-independence, that type of side of it, while the Democrat and liberal side of it has been more pro-alternative energies, pro-regulation due to environmental concerns on oil and gas. So there's been some concern that a Biden administration could potentially cause more strife for the oil and gas industry. Enverus had a debate earlier. It's recorded. I believe you can watch it for free if you register. The industry is actually pretty positive about having a Democrat in charge right now. Yes, there might be additional regulations. Yes, there might be additional push towards alternative energies, but these were all things that the industry kind of saw coming. It's no big secret that investors like alternative energies right now. There's a big push towards Tesla type vehicles, and anything that's renewable and alternative is big right now. It's people want to invest in it. So the industry knows that was happening. Also, with more and more wells being in people's backyards, thanks to the shale discoveries and the widespread basins that these shale plays have, a lot of people now have wells in their backyard. A lot of people now have a very big vested interest in oil and gas companies doing the right thing. Now, obviously, we always wanted oil and gas companies to do the right thing in terms of environmental controls, but that's not been the kind of MO for the industry. And while we care, you always care more when it's in your backyard. So that was in the forefront already. There's also been talk about, well, what if fracking is banned? Even if it is banned, it'd be on the federal lands, and federal lands are there's a lot of federal lands, but a large amount of our U.S.-based lands are privately held. So that stuff would be more of a state-based decision, and states like Texas and Oklahoma have always been very oil and gas friendly. I don't think that will change in 4 years. One more final news story I wanted to share was something I thought was actually just pretty cool. So this is the Journal of Petroleum Technology. It's what I go to for new technical stories. And this is we just came off the story of alternative energies, and here is an electric fracturing fleet. I know this video is for people who don't know what a fracturing fleet is, but I wanted to share this with you. So this is a picture of what happens on the well site. In order to make these shale plays actually produce oil, we have to take millions of pounds of sand, mix it into a little slurry, and then pump it down the hole. And all of these are pump trucks that are mixing up the sand with water and then pumping it down that well. So here's 3 wells actually right here. Typically, these well sites are very noisy, crowded. There's dozens of 18-wheelers, all with diesel engines humming and pumps humming, and there's lots of emissions, and it's expensive, and it's just a mess. It's kind of cool to watch, but when you come down to it, I would not want to have a house next to it. So what these are electric trucks that are powering all these. I just thought that was neat. So I have no idea what the economics are on this type of thing, or if it's worth it, or if it's even going to go anywhere. But just the fact that, we're looking at the industry in a different way, and the industry is okay at adapting to alternative energies in order to make the energy equation as a whole make more sense. So I just thought that was neat and wanted to share it with you. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope this helped you some. I'll be putting regular videos like this out, including more content on the website. I really want to focus more on sharing free knowledge and helping people understand what they own, what they have, the industry in general. Please subscribe if you're not. We're on all the different platforms. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.